Hey, what is up guys? Epic Pokemon TCG here, and today guys I have a deck profile for you. Now unlike my typical stuff, which is all for standard, this is going to be a deck profile for the expanded set of things, which I don't like expanded, but I figured this is a deck that is going to be highly played in expanded more than likely because I see a lot of potential in this, and it is going to be Seismitoad Decidueye. Now the list will be down in the description below. But with Seismitoad Bats being like a huge deck, there's no reason why this one wouldn't be either. You can make arguments for both sides, as far as good and bad goes. But we're going to go ahead and get into it here, guys. Now, I do apologize. There are two proxies in this deck. I only have two Decidueye GX. I have half of them, so I guess that's good. But you're going to have a 4-4-4 line. Go ahead and get those all lined out for you there. But Decidueye GX is one of the new cards from Sun and Moon. It has 240 HP and has the ability Feather Arrow. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Now this is very similar to Golbat and Crobat's abilities. Whenever they evolved, you put damage on here. But the thing about Decidueye is it's a lot bulkier, and on top of that, you can do it repeatedly, and you don't have to worry about evolving every turn. You can just do them as soon as you get them out. However, unlike the bats, these do give up 2 prizes. But with 240 HP and the fact that it has an actual pretty decent attack, 2 of them honestly, I think it's pretty good. It also has Razor Leaf for 90. I mean, that's just a pretty solid attack overall, especially since this deck does utilize DCE. This is a 2 attached type of thing. And then it has Hollow Hunt GX. Put 3 cards from your discard pile into your hand, and then that's basically just your GX attack for the whole game. And so I do see a lot of potential there because you can get back clutch supporters, which will get you past Seismitoad's Quaking Punch. It'll get you past like Vileplume or just whatever. And on top of that, you can kind of get your special energy backs in case they keep, just using Xerosic to get rid of them or something like that. So yeah, you can get a lot of clutch stuff back with the Decidueye. And like I said, there is arguments for both sides of decks, But overall, I think this is a pretty sweet deck. I saw a list a while back before the Sun and Moon came out. Yeah, Sun and Moon set came out. It was from Japan, and the list looked absolutely sick. And so I've been kind of working and tweaking and trying to think of ideas for whenever I finally got to do this video. But yeah, 4-4-4 line, really thick line, just so that you can just kind of get these out as soon as possible, get them consistently, and then maximize out on the damage you can do. But I wanted to cover that first since that was kind of the new thing. But we're going to go over the main attackers. So first, Seismitoad. The only attack you can do with this Pokemon is going to be Quaking Punch. That's the only one I'm going to go over. Quaking Punch for 30, and then your opponent can't play any item cards from his or her hand during their next turn. This is one of the most annoying cards ever printed, I think, in Pokemon in recent memory, just because of the combination of decks that you can do with it. And on top of that, 30 isn't that much, but when you combine this up with Muscle Band and Decidueye's ability Feather Arrow, you could just start doing a lot of damage. And that was one of the reasons why Seismitoad Bats was just so good, is because of how much damage you can do and how you can kind of spread out the damage and prepare yourself for knockouts. And honestly, if you have 3 Decidueye, that's 2, 4, 6, and then you of course have the Quaking Punch, which is 90. If you have a Muscle Band, that's 110, excuse me. And so you're going to be doing a lot of damage, and on top of that, you're going to be shutting down your opponent's item cards so they can't play things like Ultra Ball, like VS Seeker, Trainer's Mail, etc. The list goes on, and so pretty cool. And the list that I saw ran Espeon, and I know that was the idea a lot of people were going for. If evolutions are really big and expanded or become very big and expanded, I'm not 100% sure because I don't necessarily play it too much. I just kind of go in with a deck that I know, and then I kind of fill out the format from there. Run Espeon. But I opted for a Mewtwo. I feel like Mewtwo is a very solid attacker. I feel like anytime that you run DCE, you should run a Mewtwo just because of how solid of an attacker it is. It does 20 times the energy attached to both active Pokemon. And honestly, I feel really comfortable having a Mewtwo. Mewtwo I know is pretty popular and expanded just because of how splashable it is in many decks. And so when you pair it up with Decidueye, on top of that, Mewtwo War, you'll have the advantage. If your opponent just has a DC and you have a DC and you use Feather Arrow, then you can knock it out because that's 2, 4, 6, 8 times 2, 160, which is pretty nice. And so that was just my idea, my thought process behind all that. But basically the attackers of the deck are going to be these Pokemon here. And so the strategy is very simple. You just set up Decidueye, start using Feather Arrow, and then you use Quaking Punch, and then Mewtwo's just kind of in there for a heavy hitter. And that's really about it. I mean, that's it's about as simplistic as it gets. And of course, you have the 2 Shaymin just for setup, so you can have some consistency. And I will go over the trainers and such because this deck does need a little bit of explaining, I feel like. But we're going to get into the supporters. 3 Professor Sycamore, best draw supporter in the game. I didn't swap these out for my normal Junipers just because like I had to build another deck immediately after this. I did another one. And so, yeah. I'm going to be testing and playing a lot, so yippee for me. But you can run Juniper, of course. I always run Juniper and Expanded because I have my special Junipers that someone gave me after my deck got stolen. So, yeah, best draw supporter in the game there. Then we got 2N. 2N, just a very powerful supporter overall. 1 Lillie, I just like the Lillie. Lillie is a card that really grew on me. If you definitely want to play maybe the 4 Sycamore or you want to go about it a different route, you can definitely do that. It's 100% up to you. But, yeah, I just really like Lillie for some reason. It's a card that really caught my eye, and I've been playing it a lot lately. 1 AZ, the good thing about AZ, of course, is you do get to pick up Shaymin, potentially use it again. Or if you have a heavily damaged Seismitoad or Mewtwo, you can just pick those up. But really what you're going to be doing is you're going to be picking up your Decidueye line, so that way you can just pick it up, put it back down, and use Feather Arrow again in the turn. That is one of the reasons why that's really good in here. On top of that, we have a Xerosic. Xerosic is just really good because it gets past Quaking Punch and allows you to discard the DCE off your opponent's Seismitoad, or just discard a special energy in general, or you can get rid of a tool. Which can be very good. You can Xerosic off a Floatstone or something like that off of a Garbodor and start utilizing your Feather Arrow. That's pretty good. Xerosic is pretty much a staple, I feel like, in many decks and Expanded. Lysandre, this is really good, so that way you can potentially bring up a extremely damaged Pokemon and kind of finish the job. Or on top of that, you can bring up a... I guess you can bring up a Garbodor and try to get rid of it, because Garbodor can be an issue for this deck, because you can't utilize your Feather Arrow as much. We got 3 VS Seeker. Now, playing 3 VS Seeker was very hard for me, but I had to cut some corners here, and I figured with Feather Arrow, or not Feather Arrow, Hollow Hunt, excuse me. Figured with Hollow Hunt, you can get back your stuff anyway. And so I had to cut some corners there, and I decided, as much as I love playing 4 VS Seeker, and I feel like, Jesus, that's all, that's like how I'm set in my ways of playing stuff there, I might as well just cut one. We got 4 Ultra Ball and 2 level. The 2 level ball is specifically for Rowlet and your Dartix, so that way you can get them to your hand as soon as possible. The 4 Ultra Ball is pretty much just for everything. Ooh, hey now. Alright, so next up, 2 Battle Compressor. Battle Compressor is a very good way to thin out your deck. Start dropping some supporters into your discard pile, so that way you can abuse VS Seeker. And on top of that, the cool thing about it is this deck does play 2 Revitalizer. Now, what you want to do with Revitalizer, if you have a Battle Compressor in your hand, you have both of them in your hand at the same time, you can Battle Compressor Dartix, Rowlet, or Dartix and Decidueye, just whatever the situation might call for. If you have a Rowlet and a Forest of Giant Plants on your field, you can Battle Compressor the Dartix and the Decidueye. Or if you have 2 Dartix set up, you can discard 2 Decidueye, just whatever. And basically, you're going to be discarding a couple Pokemon and then getting them back with Revitalizer, and that just kind of speeds up the process of getting them out. It's a cool little combination. Plus, Battle Compressor is a really good card to get stuff out of your deck late game that you might not need, or just in general that you might not need. 2 Trainers Mail. I'm more fond of playing 3 to 4, but like I said with the VS Seeker, I had to cut some corners when I started, getting the deck together. This is just in here to try to fetch out some stuff that you might need. 2 Muscle Band, I miss you, rip. But Muscle Band is in here so that way you can hit a little harder. You can attach it to your Decidueye and do 110 with Razor Leaf, which is actually kind of funny. But yeah, Muscle Band is just in here, do 20 more damage. 2 Floatstone, Decidueye does have a 2 retreat cost. And so throwing a Floatstone on it isn't that bad, just in case your opponent Lysandres it up. I originally had 2 of these, but I opt down to 1. You can run 2 Devolution Spray. You can run 2 Devolution Spray, but I feel like with the AZ, maybe, that could, I don't know. 2 is an option. Let me just say, 2 is an option, 2 is not bad. I opted for one because, like I said, when I started building, this and getting it together, started playing it, I realized I needed to just kind of cut some corners. I need to make some changes. I need to swap out some stuff. And so I went with just one Devolution Spray. 2 is an option. Basically, this is just so you can start using Feather Arrow multiple times in a turn. I don't know. I just kind of getting stuck with 2 in my hand, and I felt like 1 was like the route to go. But yeah. Next up, the A spec of the whole deck is going to be Computer Search. Computer Search is my baby. If you're more of a dowsing machine player, then you can go for that. But Computer Search, just search out any card out of your deck. I feel like that is just, God, that's so good. But stadiums, 3 forests of giant plants. You could go 4 if you feel more comfortable with that. But this is just going to be so that way you can just immediately go Rowlet, Dartix, Decidueye, like that. So yeah, pretty simple there. And it's a counter stadium too. One of the cards I would recommend, maybe if you feel like you could, just use it, and probably Silent Lab. I think that would be a pretty good route, because Silent Lab is just annoying, and if you're able to spring it on your opponent turn 1, it stops them from playing Hoopa and Shaymin, so that's pretty good. Next up, we got the Energy, 4 DCE and 5 Grass. The Grass is just so Decidueye becomes basically an option when it comes to attacking. And that's about it. The DCEs are pretty much just for Mewtwo, Seismitoad, and Razor Leaf does take a DCE, and hopefully I'm getting that in frame. And yeah, like I said, the strategy is very simple. Feather Arrows just sets up damage, and then you just kind of use Quaking Punch to slow your opponent down. And then there's trainers and such in here that do their own jobs. But I felt like this was just a deck that I needed to cover. It was too good to not cover, but yeah, this is just my starting list for it. This is, I think, a list that is very changeable. I think it's very easy to change up, especially if you have a different play style than I do, and you play Expanded more than I do. You probably would be more familiar with the format and what you need to prepare for and what you need to not prepare for. But yeah, you guys are all awesome. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like it and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Take care, and this is Epic Pokemon TCG signing out.